Let's talk about 50 Cent. I've alluded to this person, but I figured why not share a little bit of information about him. Now, obviously, if you know enough about rap and you're about my age, you know that this man kind of fell apart and his legacy has been disrespected by a ton of people, especially over the past 6 or so years. So that is something that he's kind of one of those folks that a lot of people like to talk shit on. And unlike Eminem, I mean, the guy had, numerous fucking attributes to him. He had the backing of Dr. Dre and Eminem, plus marketability and the ability to make catchy hooks. He was about on par with Nate Dogg for a good while there. But, all that just didn't matter. And we got to his fourth album, which was Before I Self-Destruct, which basically most people will say flopped right on its face. Now, I'm here to say on the contrary, just because this album, I understand it's for hardcore 50 Cent fans, but if you give it a shot, it's about the same as an underground album. Now, when I look at Tech N9ne, he's a bit more approachable, but I kind of compare this to an album that Tech N9ne might have done, like Angelic, before he started getting guests. And I also compare it to Exhibit's Weapons of Mass Destruction, where he didn't have Snoop Dogg or Dr. Dre with him. So both of those albums is kind of what this is. 50 Cent really has no guests on here that aren't on the hook. So it's basically him on his own. And he's proved, he kind of has still the high profile stuff on here, but he's also capable of making a mainstream rap album on his own. So the only real weakness of this album is just that it's not a social classic. But other than that, I think you should enjoy it rather well if you just give it a shot. But we'll get to the meat of that. So can you smoke to this? The answer is, well, before I even talk about that, I'm going to say that this is a dark album. If you've heard 50 Cent on the radio, you've heard like Candy Shop and those type songs. The thing is that this does not have any song like that. And I kind of felt like it could have used a song like the Out of Control remix. I really feel like that one would have been a brilliant, if it would have just had like one or two songs just like that on this album, people probably would have called it like a cult classic or something, because it's dark. I mean, I compare it to a Tech N9ne album just because this album really has no intentions of charting until like the last 3 songs on this release. Everything else besides that is just underground stuff. And just the fact that 50 did that is rather strange. So it works extremely well. This is, I don't know about Juggalo type stuff, but or whether or not it's like that, but it is, I'd almost say, an underground release. Something you'd expect from Twista, Bone Thugs, or Tech N9ne. So it's just one of those type albums. Every beat on here is really murky and muddled. So, can you smoke to this? Yes, you can. I think one of the best beats on here to smoke to is Get It Hot. Yeah, that one is just malicious. I really enjoyed that beat. Crime Wave is another one. Psycho with Eminem is a great one. And So Disrespectful. All of these are extremely mean. And that's best way possible saying that. So Death to My Enemies would be another one. The production. Now this is what I was talking about as far as how lean this album is. There are some kind of commercial trying songs, but 50 Cent really relies on a hook artist to do these instead of making the hook himself. Now, this is kind of disappointing just because it makes you wonder if he can still make hits like that, but we'll never know because it's been 6 years since this album came out. So, yeah, we just have to go with the street type songs on here, but basically all the songs I said you can smoke to are some main ones. Crime Wave really has like dirty keys on there, and um just the melodies and the piano keys I think on there are just really kind of lean as shit. And So Disrespectful is another one that's like that. That's really lean. Death to My Enemies is pretty bad. Psycho, Stretch, all these are really extremely well to go with. Okay, You're Right is another one. Dr. Dre does do some beats on here, so if you want to know which ones, look it up, and you'll find that he's got some production on here, but most every beat on this album is really dark, and that's extremely good because it fits a theme. So the unheard songs, which are basically songs that you may not have heard but need to give a try because they are, they don't have a lot of attention, and you'll probably have a lot of fun if you do. So these are, I like 10 out of 16 songs. And there was something I was gonna say. Yeah, I'll think of it as I go. Alright, I thought of it. 50 Cent is proving that he actually can come up with topics. So, some of his complaints is just that he is just some random thug who got a record deal, but he can make songs, and songs like Could Have Been You, Hold Me Down especially, these are both extremely well good songs that are put together. So you just have to, this is basically like a secret Eminem or Aftermath album, just because he's got the same energy that Dre or Eminem have. Both these guys, it's got production to boot. This is just something you need to hear. And so the 10 songs, it'd probably be easier to say the songs I didn't like. Baby by Me, the song from the radio, didn't like that song at all. I Got Swag, Strong Enough, Then Days Went By, and The Invitation. Basically the reason why is just because the beats on all of those were not up to par. I'm going to talk about a few ones you need to hear. So Go Straight for Crime Wave, Go for Psycho with Eminem, Death to My Enemies, So Disrespectful, and Get It Hot, of course, has like I said, a very vicious beat. And also Could Have Been You if you're sick of like the violent type songs. So, and Hold Me Down is kind of like sarcastic. There's just many of these. So yeah, 10 out of 16. So the score, I'm going to give this a 8.5 out of 10. Really this was just this close from, not this close, but about this close from getting a 10. Just if it would have had like one or two more songs, it probably would have gotten that. So I do recommend this release. The Future 50 Cent has a number library, and a pretty big library of albums. So you just have to take a look at that. And is this album social? I'm going to give it a 5 social, and the reason why is because the only person really on here is Eminem, and I would have liked to have had like those charting songs that would have gotten him more attention. So it's unfortunate that it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to anchor this album, but it basically sold about as much as any underground rapper does. So you think of Bone Thugs, what this record sold is probably what they're selling currently. That's just something that was just bad for 50 Cent. If he just as he made this transition, it's not really that big a deal. I give this album an 8.5 and a 5 social. Subscribe for more fun.